Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. Now, I know you're used to the reviews coming out on Thursday, but we had a holiday on Monday, so that always pushes the books back to I normally pick them up on Tuesday to start reading them. And unfortunately, I had to pick them up Wednesday morning to to get them because of the delay. But the good thing is, it's actually a pretty decent, not too bad of a week, not too terribly awful. It's kind of a mixed bag this week, so just get ready for that. Okay, first up we have Batman Knightwatch #1, written by Jay Torres with artwork by Carrie Strachan. So I know that when they had Batman Day, there was a free preview of this book, and I honestly don't really remember it reading back then. But if I'd probably remembered reading it back then, I probably would have not picked this up. But I did, so we'll do our review of it. First of all, it's kind of an odd thing. I think this is obviously aimed at a younger audience, but I think that is kind of where the problem lies, is that I'm not quite sure it knows what age it's really aiming for. I think in a way it thinks maybe it's kind of caught in between, like it's a little bit too much for young readers, but then I think if you're an older reader, like early teens or teens, I don't think these stories are particularly going to impress you, especially when they're not. A lot of regular Batman titles aren't that much racier than this, so I think that's kind of where I struggle with it. And it's an okay book and everything. It's not like it's certainly terrible or anything. I think it's just kind of okay, and I think that's where the problem lies, is that it's not going to impress the audience that it's aimed for, and it's certainly not going to impress anybody that is a normal reader of comics. I will say the stories are fine. They're pretty basic stuff. I mean, the Clayface one is actually I think the better of the two. I enjoyed that a little bit more than the other one. Strachan's artwork is really, it's interesting because I think the first part is okay. Is a little bit better visually. The second one just really has some odd perspectives and stuff like that. She's a decent artist. I just think it's kind of like, it's okay artwork. It kind of, it fits the bill and everything, but overall I think the book is kind of okay. And I mean, if you have maybe a older younger reader that is looking for a Batman book, this might work, but I just think there's better things out there. Next up we have Shock Shop, written by Colin Bunn, with two artworks by Danny Luckhart and Leila Les. And so there are two covers to it, so don't get confused. What it is, it's one of those rare flip books. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. So there's two stories. The first one is Something in the Woods in the Dark, is the one that's drawn by Luckhart. And it's actually, so what it is this couple and some friends go out to the woods, and the couple is having some marriage issues, and so they're trying to work things out. And then one of the friends goes out to the woods to take a leak, and then the wife, who apparently is a monster, attacks him. So that's just kind of the setup, because once again it's really a short story, but it's not completed. It's actually the first part of a story, so it's just like an introduction to the story. The second half, or the second side, is Familiars, that's drawn by Leila Les. And what that is a guy who is divorced. We're seeing a weird thing, the whole divorce thing in both stories. And he's moved into a new house, and the kids come to visit, but he discovers that this house is haunted, where he unpacked and everything, and then he he wakes up in the morning, everything's put away, and the kids come and they're able to, you know, fly through it's like a magical house. But then you see at the end of the issue that it's actually like these monsters, these hideous monsters that are they can't see, but then you're able to see. And it's kind of an okay story. I think I like the one with the woods a little bit better. It was a little creepier. I also like the art a little bit better. Leah's art on the Familiars it's okay. It's decent artwork. It gets the job done, but it wasn't. I think the problem is that I read the Luckert one first, and it's a better story, and the art's for me more appealing. In the second one, the story was okay, and the art was a little less appealing. Certainly was not bad. It was just okay. So I can't really recommend it. I think it's a good idea. I think just the execution. I think it might have been better to do, you know, if it's going to be like a 4-issue series, maybe do the first 2 issues with one story and then the other. I mean, I think the flip book's a good idea on paper. I just don't think the end product actually lived up to the concept. Next up, we have Poison Ivy #4, written by G. Willow Wilson with artwork by Marcio Takara. So Poison Ivy is still, well, once again, she's kind of got this plant disease, and one of the things that she's doing is she's trying to balance human and nature. Like, humans are overtaking the world, and she is trying to basically reverse that by having nature attack humans, and that's the basic story we have up to here. And so this issue, she works at a well, it's not specifically said, but let's just kind of say that it's like an Amazon hub where people are packing up all day. It's not said, but it's kind of obvious what that is. And she gets a job on the packing line, and partially to pass the nature plague along much quicker, and it'll go around the world basically. And what it is she when she's hired for the job, the boss is like a real jerk, and then he's misogynist and everything, and so it's kind of a middle issue to this first story arc, because the first story arc's 6 issues, and it's interesting. And I think what is also interesting is she ends up hooking up with one of the other line workers, and they have a getaway for the day, and but she's also longing for Harley, which she's still in love with. And so it's, and also the nature disease that she has is starting to affect her mind. So that's going on. Like I said, is a standalone issue. This, this is kind of a tough one, because it's a bit of the middle of the story, but taking the story as a whole, this does build on the first 3 issues, which is really nice. I'm really happy with this book. I really like the story that Wilson is doing here, and Takara's art is just absolutely wonderful, especially when there's the kind of visual trippy that Ivy has. I'm really loving this book a lot, and I'm really glad, because originally it was only 6 issues, and now there's a second story arc that Wilson had said that if sales are good, she could do a second story arc for it. So I'm very happy about that. But this has definitely been a really must-buy book. I've really been excited about it, and I really enjoy it. Next up, we have Last Line, #1, written by Richard Dinnick, with artwork by Jose Holder. So what it is there's it's the London Metro, and it starts off where this guy's on the platform, and another guy comes in and shoves him in front of the train, and the driver of that train, Sally Hazard, runs him over. Obviously, she can't stop the train, but she insists that she saw somebody push. But when you see the video of it, it just looks like he jumped. And what you find out is that there's these, I guess they look like dog creatures. I guess they're like dog aliens or something. I don't know. That they pushed this guy, Alan into the thing, and he asks, so in the she's interviewed by Edward Tam, who he's works with MI6, but he also knows that these dogs, aliens, are there, so they go visit where the guy who died, Alan, is, and they find out he has a twin brother, Adam, and the dogs meet them there. They kill the other brother. We don't quite know really what's going on. I think that's kind of where the book kind of falls apart. Is there's a lot going on, but it's not like there's a lot to kind of grasp onto. I think part of the problem that Denning has with this first issue is he's trying to get a lot of exposition across, which is always a challenge. But I think the problem is that it just like it just doesn't gel really well. I think there's some good ideas there, but overall, it just kind of, after I read the first issue, it kind of fell flat, where it's like, okay, this is nice, there's some interesting ideas, but there wasn't enough compelling story to really want to come back for a second issue. Holder's artwork's nice. It gets the job done. I think it's like, I think there's a good idea here, just like the execution didn't quite work so well. So this one's kind of a pass this week. Next up, we have Batman 127, written by Chip Zdarsky with artwork by George Jimenez. And then the Catwoman backup artwork is written by Zdarsky with artwork by Belen Ortega. So what it is Batman is now possessed by another Batman. I guess it goes back to the Grant Morrison Rest in Peace storyline. That it's okay if you haven't read it. Just kind of go with it. That now this Zurin R is possessing Bruce. I guess it's like a version of Bruce. Once again, the Rest in Peace storyline so old, I don't even kind of remember all of it. So what it is Failsafe is come, and Zorin R has possessed him to fight, because Bruce has created Failsafe, and so Failsafe knows how he's going to fight and stuff like that. So that's really kind of what we learned this issue. Once again, it's kind of interesting. I think the thing is Zdarsky is setting a lot up here, and I think it's interesting, but it's still like, I really like that first issue that he did. The second and third issue have been, okay, this is nice, and I like where it's going, but I think the excitement has tempered a little bit. Not to say that it's gotten bad or anything. I think we just got to get through this first storyline and kind of see what he's trying to do with Bruce and company. So once again, I think it's one of those where it's suffering a little bit from a monthly schedule, where it's like, okay, this is nice, but you're not reading the entire story in one shot, which is always sometimes can be a challenge. There'll be a book coming up a little later that really suffers from a monthly schedule. But we'll get to that in a little bit. The artwork by Jimenez is really, really gorgeous. It's a really good looking book. The artwork's really fantastic. And the Catwoman backup is actually finishes the story about Oswald Copperpot. And basically, I don't really want to give anything away, but everything is not what it seemed. So that's that. That was actually a really nice story. It was 3 issues. It was a nice addition to the main story. So I really Ortega's artwork is really nice. So I still think the book is worth picking up. I think we have to see what this first storyline is going to be, and then kind of go from there to see what Zdarsky's where he's going to kind of move forward with the characters and stuff. So I still think it's worth checking out. I mean, I think I have a bit more fondness for the detective run that Ram V is doing right now, because he started the book. But I still think this is interesting. I think it's just gonna we'll have to kind of see where it goes. Next up, we have Bush Leaguers #1, written by Bob McKeon and Sam Fletcher with artwork by Joe Flood. So what this takes place in, say, like the 20s, and it's about this baseball team who has been kicked out of the league. They're not really, they end up fighting on the field more than they play baseball. They're not very good. And then so they're threatened by the mayor who the mayor's Teddy Roosevelt, who says, we're going to kick you out of, you're not going to be able to play baseball. And then one of the players ends up meeting this new kid who comes in on the train. He's a really good baseball player, and he really is going to try out for another team, but the player convinces him, hey, you need to actually join our team. That's the basic setup for this first issue. It was a cute little book. I mean, I did like Flood's art style is very cartoony, and it adds to the charm of the book. I think it like I said, it's a fun little book. This is obviously a setup issue, and it does a decent job of setting up what the story is and everything. I think if you're more of a baseball fan, I think you're gonna dig this. But overall, I think it was a cute little book. I think it's one of those where I think the problem is because there's so many books that come out, stuff like this really kind of gets lost in the shuffle. To where it might do better as like a trade. Like I said, it's a cute little story. I just don't know that with all the stuff that comes out, there was enough compelling reason to read it now. But I do think I enjoyed it enough to where when it's collected, I think I might check it out. So, like I said, I think it's a lot of fun. It's a tough sell. There's no gray area. It's a tough sell, but the writing was good, the art was good, so the product is actually nice. So I think if it's something that interesting you, or you're looking for something different, I think it's well worth checking out. Next up, we have The New Champion of Shazam, number 2, written by Josie Campbell with artwork by Evan Doc Shaner. Now, before I even start, I really, really have to give props to Campbell, because in the first issue, we were introduced to the rabbit Hoppy, which is a character from the original Shazam. It basically was a Shazam bunny. And in the opening of this one, there is an ancient ad, a retro ad for Fawcett Community College. And one of the things that's talked about is that they have a student radio station, WHIZ. So why have I brought this up? Because Campbell has done the homework, and so Shazam, which is actually Captain Marvel, was published by Fawcett Publications, and his first appearance was in Wiz Comics. So bravo. Now, with that out of the way, so Billy had to give up the power of Shazam, and he couldn't give it to all the kids to create the Marvel family, so he gave it to Mary. So Mary is back home because the foster parents are missing, and so she's coming back to she ends up going to Fawcett Community College to continue to go to college, but be at home to help with the kids and everything because the parents are gone. So while she's at college, the college is next to the freeway. There's an accident on the freeway, but then you find out there's actually a giant alligator with wings that is caused the accident, and there's also mysterious creatures that kind of pop up that seem to be the reason why the alligator's there. So now Mary's involved with that, but she does find out that there is more than just their missing parents. So other people are missing. So that leads to like, okay, now we kind of know why the parents are missing, that it's not just them. Like I said, I'm really digging this book. I'm a really huge Shazam fan. And Campbell has done a great job of bringing this into today's comic world, but also understanding where the history of these characters come from. And I really have to applaud her for doing that. that Bravo, and then of course having Evan Doc Shaner do the artwork is just it's like a gift from the comic gods. This book is fun, it's solid, it's good. The story's great. The artwork's amazing. This is a must-buy book. I just love it. And it's fun. That's the other thing. It's just, it really has a lot of fun, but it has a solid story to go with that fun. So definitely you need to be picking this book up. It's a must-buy. It's one of the best things I read this week. Next up, we have Alien #1, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, with artwork by Julius Hota. I guess they're rebooting Alien, so this is kind of a new storyline. It's not a surprise that Marvel wants to put a new #1 out. But what this story basically is there's kind of a group of, I guess you could say, genetically modified or superhero type people. And so what it is the Wayland company basically wants to hire them to go to this planet that it's been terraformed, but it didn't work out, and so basically they're sending them to fight the aliens. So that's really the setup here. Once again, I think it's an okay story. There really wasn't much beyond the introduction of the superheroes, quote unquote superheroes of the team. It was a little lean on story. It was kind of okay. I wouldn't say, and it really didn't honestly feel like much of an alien story. That was the odd part. Not that was bad. It just seemed kind of a little odd. So once again, the last Alien books they've been good, but I think the problem with this always is there's kind of so much expectation, also mythology that comes with the alien. It's like you really have to for me, I think you need to come up with something different, and I think this is different, but I don't know that I was impressed enough to really get too excited about continuing the story. It's kind of odd in that respect. So I think it just it could be good. I just think that this first issue got off a bit on the bad footing a little bit. Hota's artwork's actually, the artwork's nice and everything. I just wasn't overwhelmed with it. I think that there's an idea there. I just think we'll have to see what the second issue does and see if it's actually worth, continuing forward. Next up, we have Dark Knights of Steel, Tales from the Three Kingdoms, #1, but it's a special. So there's 3 separate stories. The first one's written by Tom Taylor, with artwork by Casper Wingard, which is basically kind of it's a Jimmy Olsen story. It does have the Cal, Bruce, and Kara in it too. The second story is written by Jay Kristoff, with artwork by Sean Isaacs, that has Cal, Harley, and Bruce. And then the third story is written by C.S. Parrott, with artwork by Michelle Bandini, which is Bruce and Bane. So the first story is centers around Jimmy Olsen, who is an orphan, and he gets kidnapped from the orphanage. And so what it is Cal, Bruce, and Kara go to find him, and they find out that there's other kids that have been kidnapped, but they find out that they actually haven't been kidnapped. They've been rescued because the Arkham orphanage is actually they're doing experiments on the kids and turning them in one of the cases into Man-Bat. So that's the first story. I think it was a cute little story. It was it was nice and everything. I wouldn't say it's Taylor's best, but it was an enjoyable story. Wingard's artwork's actually nice. It gets the job done. The second one was kind of a bit of a surprise. It was a little more fun. Kristoff's story is basically Harley and Cal go out, and I guess the best way to kind of describe it's kind of like Halloween, where everybody's dressed up, and so his disguise is wearing glasses, a la Clark Kent, which was a nice touch. And when they go out, Bruce comes, and of course, Bruce is such the party animal. He brings such joy. And then they run across Robin, and what it is Robin has a band of kids, a la Robin Hood. They're stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, and it's a nice little story. It's a cute little story. The artwork by Isaacs is really nice. This is a really good looking story. And the last one by Perrat and Bandini is Bane it basically kidnaps Bruce only to train him to fight, because he knows that the parents of Kal-El, sorry, I'm drawing a blank, that they're not of this world, and they're kind of a problem, or that they he knows their secret, basically. It's Jor-El and I can't remember her name. Sorry, it's late. The heat, we've had a heat wave, folks. So anyways, what it is Bane trains him, and then tells him the secret. And I won't give away the ending, but it's actually a nice little story. These are if you've been reading Dark Knights of Steel, this is really a companion piece. I don't think you really need to read this because they're side stories. I think if you haven't been reading Knights of Steel, this does give you a little bit kind of more of backgrounds of some of the characters. But once again, I don't think it's necessary either way. I enjoyed it. I wasn't necessarily blown away by any of the stories. I think they were all decent and well done. The artwork's nice on all of them. But I just don't think it's super compelling, especially if you're on a budget. If you're on a budget, you definitely do not need to pick this up. These are just nice little side stories. But if it is something that interests you on either side of the fence, if you've been reading or not been reading, it gives you a good taste of that world. Next up, we have Starhenge number 3, written and drawn by Liam Sharp. Now, if you remember back when I talked about books that kind of struggle a bit monthly, with which is kind of what we're having with Batman a little bit, Starhenge is definitely is one of those. Now, that is not saying it's bad. This is the way that Liam Sharp writes, especially if you had read his Batman, Wonder Woman, Brave and the Bold, is the way he writes the whole story. And then he really breaks it down into like issues. And the I don't want to say a problem, but what happens when you do that is that each issue, once again, there's a 30-day gap between each issue. It's one of those stories that you really need to read as a complete story. And it really struggles as a monthly book in the sense of there's so much like going on in this story. There's so much depth and mythology and everything. There's so much that these little nuggets you get every 30 days are really tough to digest in that respect, because you're not reading it as a whole as it really is meant to be read. And so once again, this is not a knock against the book. I really like the book. It's just it's a book that's hard to read monthly, and it's a shame because it is a really, really good book. Now, we all know that Liam is absolutely brilliant artist, and the art is amazing on the book. I think the thing is, there's a really interesting story of how he's blending the King Arthur legend mythology into like all sorts of other mythologies in the past and the present and the future. And it's really interesting, but I think the thing is, it's a tough read on a monthly basis. So here's my suggestion, and if you're buying it as a monthly, I would say just really hold off and read it all in one shot, because that's really how it's meant to be read. And if you haven't started reading the book, you might want to wait, because they will collect this story in I believe he said he's going to do a hardcover first. It's a tough book as a monthly book. Certainly not a knock against the book. It's really a complete story that we're just getting in these little chunks, and it's really, really tough to do that with this sort of epic storyline that Sharp is doing here. But I will say I am enjoying it. I tend to go back and reread the first couple issues, and it really flows, as a first and second and third issue. It's just tough if you kind of reading it by itself. But I still enjoy it. It's still well worth picking up. I think it's just reading it as a monthly is just on a bit on the tough side. Next up, we have All Out Avengers #1. Written by Derek Landy, with pencils by Greg Land, with inks by Jay Liston. To say that I was not overwhelmed with this book is a bit of an understatement. I really think this book was made because Greg Land wanted to draw Marvel characters. Now, Greg Land is a really nice artist. His artwork's really wonderful. But boy, the story on this was, first of all, it feels like this is the second part or third part of a story that you're finishing. That's one problem. You're kind of dropped into this story that's already going. That never works out well. Second of all, it really is just, it seems like the story is an excuse for Greg Land to draw giant battle scenes with Avengers, like Thor, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Iron Man, Captain America. Who else is in there? Spider-Woman, Spider-Man. And it really is just an excuse. The story is just built to have him draw these set pieces. To tell you how an actual line from the book, and it truly mystified me when I read this, but it really kind of summed it up, is the line is it's an off-camera, not a plot. It's not a character speaking the dialogue. It's exposition, and the line is, and I'm not kidding, Captain America is awesome. It actually, that's written out there, and I just read that, and I'm like, that answers everything. I mean, it was fine. It was nice, and then I read that, and I'm like, yeah, this is not, the story is just really, there is no story. It's just an excuse to have them fight bad guys and for Thor and Captain Marvel to get into a fight. That's all it is. It's once again, Greg Land is a really nice artist. The book's really pretty. The story is just terrible. It's absolutely dreadful in the sense of there's really is no plot. It's like you're dropped into the middle of the story. It's not good. It's just not good at all. So this is definitely, just skip it. It's not worth your time or money. Next up, we have Dark Crisis Infinity Earths #4, written by Joshua Williamson, with artwork by Daniel Sampre. So once again, we're still going along. The Barry Allen is back. He has found Hal on another Earth. Once again, there's Earths all over the place. And so he's obviously discovered that Pharaoh is using their dreams, or their kind of this reality that he's created, to conjure like the dark side. That's the best way to kind of describe it. We also learn that there's because we know that Deathstroke, who attacked the Titans, that didn't go well. Beast Boy, he's still not looking good. But Black Adam has now gone to the Legion of Doom to basically say, hey, look, the Deathstroke and his gang they're being controlled by dark matter, and we need to stop them. But the Deathstroke's team comes in, it doesn't bode well. So that's kind of what happens this issue. There's a lot to digest with these event comics. And I'll say that I'm enjoying it for what it is, but it's certainly, there's a lot to take in. And I think that's kind of the problem, is that this particular event, they just keep building on previous events. So if you haven't read a lot of these events, I mean, obviously I would hope to believe that most everybody has read Crisis on Infinite Earths. But we have the Dark Knight Metals and all these other things, Flashpoint, and the problem is that they do these events for people that have read all this stuff, and unfortunately, it's okay for new readers, but there's a lot of stuff to digest that I don't know a lot of new readers. That being said, I'm kind of enjoying it for what it is. It's, as with most, I'm not really a big event person because of these things that I just brought up, but this one's okay. I'm enjoying it. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not disappointed. It's okay. And it's Williamson. It's his writing's fine. Sampre's art's really nice. It's a good book. I just don't think that it's one of those things that you have to. There's a lot of baggage that comes with it. The question is, are you willing to pick up the bags and go with it, or not? And that's really kind of what it comes down to. But creative wise, Williamson and Sampre are doing a nice job. It's a nice book. It's a good read. There's just a lot, like I said, there's a lot of baggage that comes with it. Next up, we have Twig number 5, written by Scotty Young, with artwork by Kyle Stratham. So this is the last issue. Twig has been on his journey, and this is the final issue. There's really not a lot I want to say that gives it away, but I will say I have really been blown away by this story. First of all, it's beyond super charming. I mean, I think they're super charming, and there's some other level that Scotty Young has hit on this. There's something, I mean, the characters are adorable, but it's a grand story. It's kind of a, Bone, Lord of the Rings type epic story. But I think what Young has done here that has been so good is that even though this world that Twig has been going is huge, and there's all these elements, fantastical visual elements and stuff like that, he has been really smart that he keeps focus on Twig and the other main characters of the story. And that is why it's worked so well, is because he keeps it simple and charming, even though it's a big story, but he focuses on what you need to, which is the characters. And that's why it's worked so well as a story. But then you have Stratham's artwork, which is just gorgeous. This is really a stunning looking book. If you've missed this when it's come out, definitely there'll be a collection of it. It's really good, and it's actually a great all ages book. It's really it's wonderful on so many different levels. But like I said, if you've missed it, definitely pick out the trade when it comes out. This is really a great book, and just a wonderful story and just gorgeous artwork. And finally this week we have Batman Dear Detective, written by Lee Bermejo and drawn by him. So it's written and drawn by Lee Bermejo. So what this is like the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen. It's not really a story. Literally, it's a collection of his covers. Now, they have put out portfolios of other people's covers, but what they did with this is it's the magazine size, like Black Label book. And so he's sort of come up with this story to his covers. Now, the covers are not connected at all, but yet he's come up with this, and I use the term story loosely, that it really, there's not much of a story here. It's just weird. But I mean, it's really pretty because it's his art, his covers and stuff. But ultimately, it's just, I don't know. It's weird. It's not like it's bad. It's weird. But don't buy this book if you think there's some sort of story here, because there really isn't. I mean, there's a story, but it's just weird. And it really is just a collection of his covers strewn together with this story. So I don't even know how to recommend it. I mean, it's not like it's terrible or anything, because his art's gorgeous, but if you're buying it because there's a story, don't buy it for that. But yeah, it's just weird. But if you love his art, here's the thing: if you love his artwork and you just want to look at his artwork, buy this book. There you go. That's all I can say about that. That's going to do it this week. As always, public service announcement: I buy all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store. Really great customer service. Him, Annie, Eduardo, Wendy, Derek. Great store. Great. Really, they have a great pull service. This is why I'm able to get all my books, because I go through pull box. Ryan makes sure he orders everything, and they offer discounts on trades in graphic novels and manga every day. And by doing a pull box, you get a discount on your new comics. So it's a great store. Like I said, it's in Long Beach, California. Now there is a sister store, different owner, Chris and her team, Pulp Fiction, Culver City. They offer the same discounts and stuff, but they're obviously in Culver City. So if you live more in the LA area, I would check that store out. But once again, if you get a chance, come down to the Long Beach store. Ryan runs a really good store. They also have a great Facebook group. They do Tuesday night unboxings where they talk about the new books. Really great store. And as always, support your local comic shop. They're the backbone of this industry. They're the reason we get comics every week. So definitely support them. Make sure you pick up your pulls. And as always, we end our show with be kind to each other. I know things are tough out there. Obviously, I'm in LA. We're suffering like one of the worst heat waves I've ever experienced. But please take care of yourselves. Be safe. As always, stay healthy, get vaccinated, and just take care of yourselves. I know it's tough out there. Trust me, it's tough all over. But just be kind to each other. Kindness goes a long way. Kindness will make you feel better, make other people feel better. It's a good thing. It's a good thing for everyone. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. And we'll see you again next week. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. Take care out there. All right. Bye-bye.